This is the Athletic Geek, and we are here for our next edition of Super Saturday Nostalgia. We are covering X-Men, the animated series, Night of the Sentinels, Part 2. And as always, I am joined by Isaac Lee of ILH Studios. And we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to get right back into this second part. If you remember from Part 1, they were... the X-Men are just about ready to run into a barrage of bullets, it seemed. And if you're wanting to follow along at home on your DVD, Blu-ray, or streaming service, find Night of the Sentinels Part 2 and press play now. And they're going to recap it probably in a more interesting way than I just did right now. But yeah, pretty much...
I'm just going to start running around wearing kitchen gloves like Jubilee.
Yeah.
And giant, hideous looking sunglasses.
And I just hope that my clothes can just change.
Yeah.
Gambit must have been like the precursor to The Rock. Because The Rock always used to talk in third person. And, Gambit would always talk in the third person as well. So... you kind of had a little bit of a Wolverine on the last one. What were you kind of saying, just to kind of catch people up on why Wolverine, at least at this point in time, was not your favorite?
Oh, I just thought that he was so two-dimensional and...
This was as a child you were thinking this way.
Well, obviously not... I wouldn't be able to articulate it in the way now, but...
I agree. I'm just saying, it's cool that as a kid you're even pointing this stuff out.
He was just like... He's just quick to... jump into I just felt like he was really dumb because he was so impulsive, and I guess that's pretty much it. Like he was just so ready. I mean, but that's also his mutant abilities. He's a survivor. The whole claws, and I mean he's very much a hands-on brawler kind of character, and
he provides a good balance. That's part of the reason why him and Cyclops is their little other than the being in love with Jean thing. There's always a nice little, they're good balance and counterbalance. It's kind of like
but that
Batman versus Superman in a way.
Yeah, I mean I know Cyclops is a little bit more of a cowboy in the or not a Boy Scout in the X-Men cartoon, and I know he's a little bit more of a control freak and jerk in the comics.
Right.
But, I mean, really, people in leadership roles that are effective leaders, they have to make the tough calls, and they have to be... They have the burden of having to be sure about their choices all the time.
Right.
And it's not easy running a team. And... I kind of thought that made sense for the character. So even though he is a dick, it makes sense. And
here you see Morph, who's
nobody cares about.
Yeah, nobody cares about. Yeah, here's the barrage of bullets, and I made a small mistake in last week's commentary where I said you're about to see why Morph was created. That was a lie. You're gonna see it this week. I promise you. No more false advertising. Here you see Isaac's dogs, or hear Isaac's dogs in the background. They're
contributing.
They're contributing. They're excited about all these guys running out of tanks too. It's cool. I will say though, this is probably my favorite design. Of Cyclops.
All the characters, all the X-Men look... They look great.
I have an affinity for that. As much as it's...
Is that a pun? Is that a pun because of the...
I wasn't trying, but,
No, I was just joking, because Infinity Wars.
Oh.
I
wasn't trying, but, hey, we can go with it. Some people might appreciate that. Shout out to other partner JC at the Deluxe Asterisks.
Don't be punny like that. Get it?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
where were we?
Costumes, yeah.
Costumes.
That's the ADE talk. And there you see is Wolverine. I want to point this out if you're watching with subtitles. he says, like, probably in the first 2 parts, like, 4 or 5 times, I go where I want to go. And the dogs are just, like, excited, man. That's, like, some... They're really having a good time. But, but I feel like they're, like, trying to establish that as, like, a catchphrase for Wolverine, and, like, they just didn't do that.
Yeah.
Like it was like they're trying, like, this is, he goes where he wants to go, he's bad, but that, like, it's just something that wasn't gonna, like, catch on, or wouldn't catch on. But 5 tangents aside, there you see Henry Gyrick, I think one of the more underutilized characters in X-Men, and he's really cool in this series. Even though those costumes don't hold up today, I feel like you made an X-Men comic with the 90s costumes, you'd have a lot of people bitching and pissing and moaning about them. But they're, to me, like, when I think X-Men, that's what I think of. The gritty 90s-ness to me fits the X-Men. While it's a...
You mean you don't think of black costumes?
I do not think of black costumes. I think of yellow spandex.
I remember seeing...
Apropos of nothing, that guy looks like J. Jonah Jameson.
I remember seeing the very first X-Men movie in theaters. And I was like, this is an X-Men movie, right? And Dad's like, yeah. And it's like, why the hell is Wolverine not wearing yellow?
Or a mask.
Yeah, I was so confused on, like, what I was... Because there's that Cyclops, he's got the eye thing, but that's not his costume.
Right.
You know, and... Oh, and I was also like, where's the other members?
Yeah. I really kind of like Gambit's little one-liner. Corny, but I love him. There's he... That whole morph's good for there, burning shit. What the fuck is Wolverine? I'm not trying to make light of all these things. I love this series. If it comes across like I'm making fun of it, that totally isn't my intention. But...
I mean, it's a dated cartoon. I mean, it's still good, but there's just things that today we can't help but make fun of.
Yeah. The one thing that and I guess kind of the basis of this this here show we're doing, in this day and age, there really isn't good superhero cartoons anymore. At least none that I became made aware of. The last one that I really remember. Now, granted, I haven't seen them all, so I mean, if you know of a good one, let me know in the comments. But the last one to me that was really good was Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
That was the last, and then they cancel it and change it for it to be completely not good.
What I loved most about that was whenever I was first really getting into comics.
Oh, here comes Morph's big exit. Right after he says famous last words, "I'm smooth sailing all the way."
Ah.
How can 100-foot frickin' robots hide as well as these do?
The masters of hide and seek. That's what they should have been called.
Appearance by Cerebro.
That's Spanish for brain.
No habla español. But yeah, Morph was... They didn't actually show it because it was still Saturday morning cartoons, but they really implied that without just saying the words, "Hey, Morph is dead," they do everything but say, "Hey, Morph is dead," to tell you Morph is dead.
And they're also the only ones that are sad about it.
I feel like... I get what they were trying to do with that. They need to, like, have... Hey, he's not... Yes! Just punches Cyclops in the gut. Yes! And I see the dogs are excited about that, too. We apologize for the excessive dog barking. It's just they're excited puppies here in the studio.
Puppies are comic fans, too.
Yeah, they're excited for the Saturday nostalgia, yo. But... I get why they did Morph, they like, hey, we need, like, the X-Men to have... We need there to be some kind of a sense of tragedy, especially with, like, I think they do a good job, like, with Wolverine, like, saying, like, hey, he's got emotions, he's sad about this, this bothers him that he lost...
Wolverine sad.
that he lost one of his comrades, but on the flip side of it, it's like, there's not going to be any real... Us as fans just kind of like, okay, here it's the annoying guy with the weird voice, and you killed him. Next...
Was Morph even in the comics?
I think he was. I think he was after this.
Because
similar to a Harley Quinn, where they created him.
But
for
he didn't exist before the cartoon.
I don't believe.
Because
now somebody might type out on there well, hey Geek, you're a dumbass. Don't you know that he came in
I could just
X-Force number or whatever, but as far as I know, no, he was created for the show, then he was introduced to the comic books later, similar to a Harley Quinn.
Well, I could see him just going through like a roster of mutants, and they're like, "Hey, let's make a Warpath." Oh shit, no, we can't do that because he's Native American. Let's see, let's do Silent. No,
she comes in later. I want to say
we can't lose any heroines. Let's see, who else can we throw in there? Like they're going through all this list, and it's like somebody's a minority or something like that. Right. It's like, hey, why don't we just make a white dude and kill him off? That's safe. Yeah, let's do that.
It's very similar to like if you remember in the First Class movie, it seems like they brought in Darwin just specifically to keep with the movie trope of African American folks have to die first.
And then he died.
And they brought him in so they could just kill him and keep that trope going, but seen a little flashback here. We've been tangenting way too much. But we touched on last week. The Sentinels. It's They feel very of the time, but they feel a little bit more necessary, if that makes sense. Like, they're giant robots that look cool, and you can, sell some figures of them, which is kind of what comics in the 90s were all about. But unlike certain other things with comics in the 90s, where they were specifically made just to sell something, they sold stuff and there was a purpose to them. And I know the Sentinels probably came before the 90s, but, I'm saying probably I'm sure they came before the 90s, but,
I was about to say, I'm going to look that up, because I thought that the Sentinels, they've
been around for a long time, but, like, this version of the Sentinels, they look like, hey, we're going to make some... With our X-Men toy line, we're going to make giant Sentinels, and we're going to charge double the price on the giant Sentinel. But they really served a good purpose. And here you see Beast getting captured. Makes me sad that for the majority of this season, Beast is spent just in jail.
I want to say that Jack Kirby might have created the Sentinels.
I misspoke. I knew that the Sentinels have been around for a while on this show. It just seemed like they came across more like
right here. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby first appeared X-Men number 14, November 1965.
Oh, there you go. So, hey, that's something pretty progressive for the time. There's a female president on as the president on there, so that was something they. Well, dog's excited about that one as well. Yeah, the Sentinels are a very necessary part of telling the story, but just at least in the 90s felt like a toy grab. A toy grab that served a purpose. That's the point I was trying to get at. Probably wasn't very articulate with my words, but
I thought all the X-Men made great toys.
Oh yeah.
They're just so.
They look cool and
And you know,
and they have the retractable claws on Wolverine. You can see the bars on Saturday morning cartoons. That's something you're not going to see a whole lot of nowadays. Put 'em back on. That's the one thing that I will give to newer cartoons over the older ones. And in some cases, I mean, Batman the Animated Series had great voice acting all around, but now they really... You gotta really be a good actor to even land a voice role nowadays. And, like, it felt like sometimes that they would just take whoever could talk and make a voice. At least in this series, compared to this series and other cartoons then. I think Batman was one of... I want to say it was one of the first, but it was one of the... Going back and rewatching these, it's one of the first that I can tell you where, like, they got good actors all around. You know, they got Juilliard actor like Kevin Conroy to play Batman. You know, they got very, very good actors from different TV shows to do the rest of the cast. Got Mark Hamill, you know, to do the Joker. He wanted to do the Joker, you know.
Yeah, I felt like, yeah, with some of the, like some of the extra voices and stuff, you know, like the guy in the bar scene, just, you know, just...
We need a southern accent and
yeah,
do it.
We need a stereotypical hillbilly, you know, redneck type, so how do they sound?
Wow. Oh. So I'm going to put in the description box guest appearance by Trinket the dog.
There you go.
Yeah. But, you know, it's kind of... it seems contradictive, but, you know, earlier where I was talking about, you know, how they don't do superhero cartoons like they used to, that's at least one thing where I guess, maybe not just in superhero cartoons, but cartoons in general, that has a good progression since the 90s. And Trinket agrees. There we have a giant jet and a huge robot with one arm flying, and nobody's questioning anything right now.
Is this, no, Master Mold hasn't showed up yet.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I really liked about this series was it was like they couldn't wait to get Cable to show up.
And Cable, and they had one of the things that was really good about the series is they really put a lot of stuff from the mythos in there. I mean, there's Master Mold, there's, you know, you get Apocalypse, you get Magneto, you get...
I love how he was constant, like he was always coming back somehow or some way, and then they touch up on time travel episodes.
Yeah, and Bishop was there.
Yeah,
they kind of do a Days of Future Past kind of thing. The similar, not exactly.
Well, I mean,
because Gambit wasn't in the original.
It's even called Days of Future Past. Though.
Yeah, but they it's not exactly, you know, because I mean, like he's
it's not
going back.
He's
going back. It's not Kitty Pryde, and they're, you know, Gambit wasn't around, but you know that's what they do a similar situation to that, which I think is very good. And other episodes will focus more on the episode later. This is unfortunately just... It's pivotal because it's one of the first, but it's not necessarily one of their best. Strong enough to keep the show going. See, Jubilee's probably going to try and redeem herself for looking so weak earlier. Ah, there's my man. Something about Gambit's just, you know, chill demeanor I always liked. I always wish I could be like just that cool under pressure like Gambit. He's just so cool.
We can't be cool like Gambit.
Nobody can be cool like Gambit. Isaac's dog is in here, and she is really wanting to play. Like, I mean, ridiculously.
She gets excited for comics.
Yeah, she is excited about comics. Excited about comics and cartoons and all that stuff. I'm really excited for when we get to the episode where we cover Rogue Super Strength. You just saw that, like, pretty nice, almost like a hip toss for the wrestling fans here. I always like whenever I saw Wolverine do this in the episode, climbing up like that, because I remember I had the X-Men video game, and that was like one of his special abilities, was he got to climb up the walls. Mutant Apocalypse for the SNES, so anytime I got to see him do that on the show, I always got excited, because I always liked doing that in the video games. Yeah! Tell him, Trinket! There you see, Jubilee leaving her family, and, it's kind of... We kind of been talking about more than just the episode here, because it's just kind of a episode that exists, but it in all honesty, it was a really... For it not being as good in the grand scheme of things, it's a nice a way to establish the series. And they do a really good job with, showing what the government or parts of the government are willing to do to get to mutants, even like going so far as to put regular people in danger to do that. They do a good job. They do a decent job trying to touch on everybody's personality, with Cyclops kind of being the leader and maybe kind of on certain things, to where he's kind of not always the most exciting or most likable person, but he has to make those decisions, like you said. Wolverine kind of being a badass, but touching on his... Yeah, that's right. His human side with more, Gambit's charm, Rogue's... everything with Rogue, not being able to touch people. I feel like the characters were all pretty decently established, but isn't that right? Tell him. Oh, now she doesn't want to. But that's pretty much, we're going to put a bow on this here episode. I'm the Athletic Geek. Go like my Facebook page at facebook.com/athleticgeek89. And Isaac, are you going to do the plugging this week?
Sure. Go and check out my Facebook page at ilhstudios.com for great artwork and awesome deals on commissions.
All right. And buy some art. It's good. We will be back here next week with the first episode of the Fox Kids Spider-Man show. Spider-Man. And that's going to be that's what I've been really looking most forward to. I'm just going to level with you folks. I wanted to power through this episode of X-Men just to get to Spider-Man.
And Trinket's excited too.
Trinket is excited. We're all excited. Be excited next week when we come back and watch Spider-Man with us. So we're out. Later.